Hello, everybody, and welcome to Every Day's a Train Wreck. My newfound title is Conductor. I think it should be called Conductress of the Train Wreck, Marley Major, and I'm so excited because I have an amazing guest, as they all are, Miss Christina Orobio. I will tell you that she's also known as Christina Orobio Joyce Zeetzman, has 1,000 names like I do, but she currently has a nice new stable name. But as you get it, she's part of the Clown Club. And so you guys, welcome Miss Christina. To me, she is forever Clippers Christina. So Clippers Christina, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being on. Tell everybody why I call you Clippers Christina.
Oh my God. Because you guys like to tease me.
Yep. And because we had another Christina and everybody was getting confused.
Right.
We had to have Italian Christina and then Clippers Christina.
Yeah. Because I was a Clipper girl.
Yeah. And she is all that. So, okay. So Clippers Christina is one of my very, very good friends, has been a friend forever, is 100% credited with saving my life. No joke. Due to the Cinco de Mayo text dumping by, if you're a regular on the podcast, you are familiar with the text dumping by Tito. And she swooped in, you know, when yours truly took another train ride to Portland to get over her broken heart. And then, of course, ended up in the hospital. And that's the story. Maybe we'll cover today or maybe not. I don't know. Christina Pasadena, is that still your Instagram?
It is still my Instagram.
Okay, so Christina Pasadena, that's very appropriate. Now, I want you guys to know that Christina Pasadena and I know where all the bodies are buried. So first of all, I think this should be a shot across the bow to any and all. Because Christina, I'm not going to say is scrappier than I am, but I will say between the two Sagittariuses, we can get down and dirty if we need to. So right now we are using code names. We're being very, very gracious.
Absolutely.
But that might not always be the case because I have a feeling that Christina Pasadena will be a regular on the show.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah, she's a fellow dumpster diver like yours truly. She is 100% fearless as the jumper, you know, 1.9 meters, etc. And
meter 10.
A meter 10. A
meter 10 jumper.
Oh, I meant it as like 10 meters. I wasn't even thinking of it as a meter.
Oh, God. Yeah. No, I don't even think it was like that at the Olympics, but.
Okay.
You know.
Christina, I jump for joy every time I see Christina. In the meantime, she is literally a jumper. But anyway, the point is she's a fearless girl. I'm a fearless girl. We're going to mix it up here on the mean streets of Pasadena, jumping out of bushes where necessary, dishing all the dirt, and most importantly, settling all the scores. So.
And, you know, I want to just go back really quickly. So
yeah,
when you were sick 8 years ago, ironically to the day when you get injured again, because it's almost day, what was wrong with you in the first place?
Okay,
I never knew.
Oh, you didn't after all that?
No.
This is absolutely priceless. There have been more podcasts. My new book that comes out next spring also details this tremendously. And I love the girl that literally saved my life is not exactly sure what got me there in the first place.
No.
Okay.
All I knew is that you were unresponsive, did not text back, did not answer phone calls, which is not generally like you.
Okay.
Especially when it's something juicy.
Yeah, 100%. So anyway, bottom line is we are going back 8 years. So now it is Thanksgiving of 2016. So as we're taping this now, it is the day after Thanksgiving 2024. Exactly 8 years. So 8 years ago right now I was in the hospital. Ironically, last weekend I was in the hospital for 3 days. Same exact time I was in the hospital 8 years ago. So I think we need to get our girl Viola, the chakra, back on to tell us what in the stars was happening 8 years ago to this same weekend. But so bottom line is I'd gotten, as we all know, Cinco de Mayo dumped by Tito in Cinco de Mayo 2016. Now, Christina and I are friends. Christina, more tears were shed on Christina's shoulder and Shelby Crawford, another guest and hope to be regular, about Tito. So tears, tears, tears. And so she's helping me, checking in on me like, girl, you're going to make it. I'm like, I'm never going to make it through this. Yes, you are. Okay. So Thanksgiving weekend, I decide to finally, I worked myself into the ground since that whole text dumping because I was like, I can't even function. I need to just work. That's the only thing I know to do to distract myself. So I'm working 24/7 from May, and now it is November. My first break that I was going to have from work was going to be the week before Thanksgiving. Like I was literally going to come back, I think like the day before Thanksgiving or something along those lines. No, excuse me. I was going to come back the week before Thanksgiving. And my big idea was I was going to take a train ride, I kid you not, to Portland. I was going to get off the train, hang out in Portland for a few days, finally by myself, no kids. I was going to have a great break. And then I was going to fly home that Saturday before Thanksgiving and, then do all my family stuff. So instead, because of my breakup, I guess this is the best the doctors can piece together. I had a UTI that I ignored. I don't know that I've ever really told this whole story like this, but anyway. So I had a UTI that I ignored, and painful. Super painful, but yours truly has a high pain tolerance. And I thought I was just being a wimp. I was chasing one of my pigs at one point in between May and November, and I slipped. And then when I slipped and my legs went out from under me, I remember hurting my back then. So I thought that this quote back pain that I had was part of chasing the pig. Okay. I had no idea that it was anything to do with the UTI. So anyway, I just think my back is funky because of chasing the pig. So now, and it kind of keeps getting worse and whatever. And then I remember taking some like Theraflu and stuff with me on the train ride. So I get on the train ride. And I talked to my dad, I'm very close to my family. I talked to my dad and he's like, you're doing what? And I'm like, oh, I'm on this train ride. It's so beautiful heading up, with the snow, the whole thing. Well, Christina and I have been texting constantly, right? And I'm finally like, yay, I'm getting on the mend and I'm taking this trip for myself and I'm not working. Well, then I was supposed to fly home that Saturday and Christina was texting me for a couple of days and I'm not responding. Well, the truth is by the time I got to Portland, I got into my hotel room and I was like, I don't feel so great. I'm not even going to go out to dinner. I decided, which is not great because I was only going to be there for a couple
days. Not like you either.
So I'm like, I'm just going to order in. And then I tell my friend who had booked the room for me, I don't feel well. And she's like, I think there's a doctor. Anyway, the doctor couldn't come to the hotel. The doctor was off duty. I don't even know. And I was like, okay, once again, I'm fine. So at that point, I remember thinking, I'm so tired. I need a break. And the movie Bad Moms was coming on. And I thought this is awesome because I am a very challenged mother and I'll have my kids on later. But I remember thinking, I watch Bad Moms and I order to-go food since there's no doctor and, be in for the night. So Bad Moms comes on, I'm watching. Well, at this point, I don't realize, but my fever starts to spike to like 105. And I remember completely hallucinating. And in the background is Bad Moms. And they're just talking about a 2-week vacation, something. I don't know where they were in the hospital. I was like, God, that sounds like heaven, like a 2-week vacation to me, like absolute heaven in the hospital for 2 weeks. Little did I know. Okay.
Yeah.
So now
be careful for what you wish for.
Exactly. So, and do not call your podcast Every Day is a Train Wreck. So then I'm hallucinating. It starts to get worse. Net. I barely remember the whole next day. Friday, have my first near-death experience. We can get into that later. Saturday, I don't even know how I'm going to get home. And one of my friends is like, you just got to get on the plane. You got to get on the plane. So I remember crying the whole way on the plane because I was in so much pain. So I get on the plane, fly home. Still not responding to Christina. And then I get home and now I feel literally worse. I feel like death. Okay. And I'm taking Theraflu. I'm taking this stuff. But the key thing on the train up to Portland on that Thursday was why, when I had one of those sleeper cars and I was like, when I woke up in the morning, the pain had switched to the other side. And I was like, well, that's weird because I thought a pinched nerve. And I was like, well, pinched nerve from, falling from a pig doesn't switch sides. So I was like, that's weird. But anyway, whatever, I come on. So Christina's texting. And then I think you finally got a hold of me that Saturday night, or was it Sunday morning?
No, I think I called you on Sunday morning and you sounded like you were like, hello.
Yes. Hello. Okay. Now I remember.
What the fuck's wrong with you? And I just said, I literally got in my car and came over and you were like laying on the bed.
Right. In the fetal position. Like, okay. So now I remember this. So Christina had texted me and then texted me in the morning and I still hadn't responded because literally, you guys, I'm on death's door. So she comes, she's like, I'm coming to take you to urgent care. So she takes me into urgent care. I'm literally in and out of consciousness. We get to urgent care and it's a Sunday and these people are just funking around. Right. And they're like, yeah, this girl does not have the flu. They're like, she's got to go to Huntington, which is like the big hospital.
Right.
So I'm like, whatever. So I'm totally out of it. It's a Sunday. The emergency room is packed. And so I remember you're like, okay, I'm going to get you here. And then you had a house to show because you're a realtor at the time. You had a house to show. You're like, I'm really sorry. I'm like, no problem because I've just got the flu anyway. And I'm thinking this is good. She can leave me and I can escape. from the emergency room. But basically, I lie down on the bench outside until they call me. And they are trying to tell me that urgent care has just dismissed this, and they dismiss this stuff all the time, and it probably is just the flu. And I said, well, could you please look at my hospital records? Because Huntington Hospital and I have a long history, because I'd been there in quarantine before from playing with bats in Bali. That's another podcast, et cetera, et cetera. So meanwhile, you're checking in on me, but you're at your open house. And what are you thinking as you drop me off? I mean, you drop me off, you're like, okay, at least she's in good hands, or
I figured you'd be in good hands, but I also know that you tend to have really good connections, Marley. And it was nice to see that all of a sudden, I remember you were laying down and the woman came up and said, oh, wait, they understood who you were. So they rushed you in. I was just like, okay, well, hopefully she's going to be okay.
Because I'm going to
sell a house and make some money. And the next thing I knew, you said that something really serious had happened. You had to stay there. And I think it wasn't until 2 days later, you're still there. And I go, do you need anything? And I come over, and seriously, most of you know Marley. She is basically taken over. She has a private room with a view, mountain view. And then she has all of her magazines organized and all of her flowers. Like, it looks like a workstation. You had also magic markers all in like little bins.
Right.
So you seriously it looked like you had just taken your office and you moved into the hospital. And this was like 2 or 3 days later. And I'm like, yeah, that's about right. Yeah, you've just got it like all set up perfectly. I'm like, you don't need anything from me, but I'm here just to say hi and make sure you're okay. But I think you were in there for like a week, right?
9 days. So now the good news is you're filling in some parts that, I was on Dilaudid, Oxy, everything. Nothing was taking away the pain. So
woohoo!
Yeah, that was, I'd like some of that right now. Because as you know, I've since just, as I mentioned, been at Huntington for 3 days due to my broken vertebrae. Again, another podcast. So I'm in Huntington. They drop me off. Christina goes to sell a house. I get a text from one of our other friends. She's like, what do you mean? Who's there with you? I say, no one. Christina went to sell a house. She said, okay, I'm coming over. Well, by that point, my first ex-husband, with whom I'm very grateful and very great friends, was texting me. He's like, how are you feeling? And I was like, not good. I'm in Huntington. And he's like, does your dad know? Because my dad's a doctor. And I said, oh, hell no. Well, both my parents had called me the night before saying, hey, do you want to meet at Smitty's for dinner? And I said, and I didn't respond, which is also unlike me. But I was like, hell no, because I knew if they heard my voice, that would not be good. So then the next morning, my dad calls again, just because the guy's got like spidey sense, but he calls and it's like, oh, I'm just calling to check in. And so then I text my ex-husband. I'm like, oh my God, my dad is looking for me again. And my ex-husband is very friendly with my dad. And so I said, can you just talk to me? He's like, what do you mean? He's like, you've got to tell him. I'm like, I can't. He'll lose his mind. So my ex said, he's like, Marley, you've got to. You are literally, well, first, for so many reasons. My dad is my business partner, all these other things. But it was like, he's got to know. I was like, it's no big deal. Because I was thinking, now I had just signed up for just for lunch or whatever, that dating thing. I had a date that night. And I was bummed because I said, well, no, I'm going to be out tonight. And then I realized I got to cancel. Oh, fricker. That could have been the love of my life. Anyway.
Did you call that guy or just text that guy?
No, I did text the service or whatever because I didn't have his contact. So anyway, oh my Lord, it always comes back to these men.
Isn't that weird?
So that's really weird. Haven't thought about that in a long time. So anyway, he says, okay, I'll tell him. Next thing I know, my dad flies in on his broomstick into the ER. And I'm in a room and he is like, what is going on? And I was hooked up to all kinds of things. Well, at this point, they thought I had meningitis because the pain was so bad. And so remember, all these doctors are going through these batteries of tests. They have no idea. So they're giving me every test under the sun. They thought I had meningitis, which of course you're going to treat one way. It turns out that they figured out it was a kidney infection that went to sepsis, that went to septic shock, which is what I was in at the time. So I was in septic shock. Now, they said at that point, oh my gosh, like, who's your friend? At that point, it was like my fairy godmother, because remember, the friend is selling the house. And so I say, my friend just, they're like, how did she just convince, and I said, I don't know, she's just very convincing.
There was no convincing. You were so out of it. It was just like, you're getting in the fucking car. You're
put me in the little red wagon.
Yeah, you're blanked all like.
Yeah, literally. And I remember crying the whole time in the car. So then they said, well, thank God, because they said you would have been dead within 24 hours. And I would have been dead because I didn't have the kids that weekend and I wouldn't have had the nanny or anybody coming until Monday morning. So 100% I would have been by myself if it hadn't been for St. Christina. So by now, all these other things, and so my organs start to fail. So net, I started to have heart failure. And then now they're like, oh my God, we got to admit this girl. So at this point, I'm thinking I've got to tell the just between lunch people, I'm not going to make it to the date no matter what. I mean, I'm still, you can't prop up a corpse. You probably could prop up a corpse. You couldn't prop me up. So then they admit
I'm really
me,
not lying.
So UTI, now I'm in septic shock. My heart starts failing. And then my lungs start filling up with fluid because they're giving me all these IVs and taking all these blood tests. And I remember it was funny because the male nurses or whatever, the people that kept coming in to take all the blood were like, every 5 seconds I'm giving blood. I'm like, Jesus, Mary and Joseph. Even me, who's on so many drugs at this point, is like, why all this blood? And they're like, ma'am, we have never even heard of these labs. They're like, they're sending out to, I'm sure they weren't supposed to say that, but they're like, we're sending out to some special labs because they couldn't identify what the problem was. They didn't know if it was E. coli. They didn't know it was whatever. So they're giving me, in the meantime, all these antibiotics. But what was happening, because they don't know what they're treating. So they're giving me all these antibiotics. And meanwhile, my dad, thank God, is a doctor. And he says, listen, and so by now in the room, they find something on my liver. It's a spot on my liver. So they don't know if this is related. So they have the oncologist in from City of Hope. Jesus. We have the cardiologist because the heart was failing. We had the pulmonologist because the lungs are filling up. We had the gastroenterologist. We had the infectious disease specialist. I remember there were 8 specialties in there at the time and all lined up. And my dad was like, you guys, we got to back off the fluid. Her lungs are filling up. And they said, well, yeah, but the lungs are filling up because we're trying to get this infection. And he's like, well, heads up, you're not getting the infection and the lungs are still filling up. So let's back up on the lungs a little bit. So then they were doing lung punctures to try to drain my lungs, etc., which is the most god-awful experience. You think an epidural is
I can't imagine.
So they're doing these lung punctures to try to drain my lungs. Finally, they got enough. Thank God. My dad just said, listen, I think that's what's causing the problem, and you're not going to start reversing this other stuff until you get the lungs drained. So then at one point, I couldn't breathe, but my doctor said, I didn't realize this at the time, but she was going to put me on, I was going on life support. She said she was giving me 2 hours. I didn't know that. But all I knew was that she kept saying, I was having problems breathing and I was hooked up to oxygen. But she said I had to, and I said, come on, what's the number? Now, I didn't know this was the number like before they put me under, but I said, what percentage do I have to be at? And so she told me, and I said, okay, well, I'll be at that number, whatever it was that I had to blow into. So she would keep coming back and I was like, come hell or high water, I'm going to blow into that number. So sure, she's just like, there's no way. I mean, in her mind, she'd already told her staff they were intubating me and had prepared my parents. And I knew something was up because my dad would keep coming in and out and he would be kind of crying. And that's not my dad. Yeah. So I was like, what's up? So anyway, I would just practice my blowing. And then sure enough, I got exactly up to that number. And she's just like, I don't know how, but okay, that was the deal. You got to that number. So they didn't have to intubate me. But they, I was still very sick and should have died a million times. And then I got acute respiratory distress syndrome, ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome, which has a very high mortality rate. So then they thought I was going to die from that once I had made it past the septic shock. So now my liver's damaged, my lungs are damaged, my heart's damaged, et cetera, et cetera. Well, at this point, my mom tells me the priest is coming in. She tells me to do some kind of special blessing, like as if it was related to Thanksgiving or something. So the priest comes in. And bless this gentleman, he comes in and he's like looking at me like, what the hell? And he gives me the last. I mean, I'm out of it, but I'm not that out of it. I know I'm getting the last and the anointing and all that stuff. So I get the last, but I'm like, okay, fine. Terrifying. So then I remember I'm still out of it. And, I'm spending 9 days. I'm Thanksgiving in there, the whole deal. And I put on Cheaters, that show, which is, I don't know, there's something about that show Cheaters that I absolutely love. Okay, so
never seen it.
You guys have to watch Cheaters. It looks like it's filmed in 1984. It's basically like Jerry Springer meets The Real Housewives meets whatever. So it's basically like, it's a total shit show. So it's like somebody is cheating and then they hire this guy who's always in black with glasses to say, and they start using very big words. That's the other key thing. I got to think of this guy's name. name. We got to put it in the show.
Yeah.
And he uses very big words. And these people are, talk about train wrecks. These people are quasi bottom of the barrel, if you can say that about another human being. And so he's like, and, you know, Cinnamon, you feel that your boyfriend, whatever, is cheating with another man, you know, and it's always these crazy names. For some reason, it's always out of Dallas. And then he uses these big words. And instead of like, it's almost like they went to the dictionary for synonyms to find out like the words for surveillance, all the synonyms for surveillance. So it'll be like Cinnamon, the arbitrage of Joshua. And you're just like, these words don't even make sense in this context.
Like, yeah.
But the guy is trying, I don't know if he's like SEO optimization or what. So I'm watching Cheaters. Now get this. This is the only thing in my life that is happy at this point. So, because I can't say, oh, you should be happy that you're alive, because I was not happy at that point. So then I'm sitting there and I'm finally, so this is the first supposedly lesbian cheaters in film. So they filmed lesbian cheaters. And I remember it was this very large woman, the size of sort of an apple meets a powdered donut. Okay. And she is wearing a tutu, is hammered. And there's another woman, somehow it's lesbian cheaters. Right at that moment, the one finds out that it was cheating with a lesbian, comes and takes out the tutu donut woman, and they are brawling on the ground in the mud. I'm not exaggerating. At that point, one of my favorite priests on the planet, Monsignor, I'll save his name, comes in. And I was like, hi, I'm so glad to see him, right? But at the same moment, remember, he walks in front of the TV. So his back is to the TV. And at the same moment, even in slow motion, it's dawning on me, the Monsignor is now, it's like slow motion. He is going to turn around. There is a lesbian in a tutu, I kid you not, rolling in the mud with another woman pummeling her.
Oh my gosh.
He, sure enough, so much, and turns around, and I'm like, huh? And he's like, Marley. And then for the elephant in the room, what are you watching? And at that point, I just said, you know, the good Lord has a story for all of us. And here, this is what, so he did, I'm sure, his version of Last Rites. The two lesbians went off into the sunset. I continued to get my visitors. 9 days later, finally, I got out of the hospital only because my dad swore he would take care of me. And that's kind of the big time story about how Clippers Christina, how you got involved.
Well, and I think the moral of the story is, number one, make sure that you treat your UTI.
100%. Lord in heaven. Get a good gynecologist.
How many times you just like, oh, I'm just going to go get like the Azo stuff and just drink a huge thing of cranberry juice. So if you don't take care of that shit, and also just pee after you fuck. That's
the title of the podcast. Okay, thank you. On that note,
but isn't that something that almost every woman should know? Like, you're supposed, and you know, here's what's a really funny story. I remember I was like, my first marriage, and I remember I was like 26 or 27.
Yeah.
And my mom and her friend, now my mom was a very like mild mannered woman, doesn't talk about stuff like that. And then she had this friend, Wendy, who was, you know, kind of a bigger woman. And
is that her real name?
Yes, but I'm not going to say her last name.
Okay.
Very mild mannered, and, you know, the short, perfect Pasadena, you know, perfect woman. And we were talking, and I was saying that I had a UTI, and literally she's like, you know, you need to pee after you fuck. And I swear to God that the blood drained from my face, and I was like, you know, you get that pit, like, I'm so embarrassed of shame bubble.
Yes.
And I was like,
but you want to laugh?
I cannot believe I kind of want to laugh, and I kind of want to go, okay, thank you for that. But the other part of it is like, you're not supposed to know that shit about me.
Right,
it was so
exactly.
Weird. It's just crazy weird.
Typical Pasadena, but yeah.
Typical Pasadena.
So in other words, this podcast should be sponsored by the National Gynecological Society.
Exactly.
Thank you. Buy your stock now. Okay, so we get through that. You and I are joined at the hip literally forever. Yeah. And we have all kinds of crazy friends, all kinds of crazy stories. One of whom has a new book that just out. We're going to call him
The Beast. So here's what's interesting. The Beast is quite a character. I mean, look, I think He's like my big brother. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? I train him 3 days a week, which I adore.
Christina's a
But
personal trainer, and you better
yeah,
get your rump
yeah.
together. Christina is like the housekeeper that you clean the house before the housekeeper comes, right? This is the trainer. You better have already done your workout in the morning before you run into Christina. Okay. Because
Yeah.
she makes the Navy SEALs look like they're asleep at the switch.
So no, he has a new book. It's called A Prayer for the Damned and Other Tales of the West. Okay, so here's what's so funny. So I sold this guy's house in 2012. Parents passed away, and he's, set.
The guy's
whatever.
loaded. I mean, the guy's absolutely loaded.
And so he decides to just start making Westerns. Just for the fuck of it. I'm just going to start making Westerns.
When you have that much money.
Well, no, it's not even that. How many people in Pasadena do you know that actually just decide to do what they really want to do? I mean,
No.
Look, if you look at the history, most of them buy a house in Newport Beach,
Yeah.
or a place in Aspen,
yeah.
or wherever, Sun Valley, whatever. They've decided they're just going to fuck off and do shit like that.
But this gentleman decides he's going to do a spaghetti Western.
He rents a small apartment, lives very conservatively, and decides to make freaking spaghetti Westerns. He made 3 in the first, I think, maybe 5 years. Did well. He had a crew and we actually were on set because Matt had a small part in the third one. And subsequently after that, he's kind of partnered with this huge bodybuilder Russian guy. And
currently,
with the Russian? No, about 3 years ago, they started.
Okay.
And they did a Western, they did a horror, and they did another. They're supposed to be doing another Western, details to be put under wraps. Yeah, unless the Beast decides to actually bring that forward, because I don't want to get into it.
Is there a problem with the Russian? Oh, there's a problem with the Russian. Okay, so the Russian and the Beast and the Western are going to go south. Does it have anything to do with the war in the Ukraine?
I'm sure possibly part of it, but
has to do with no joke.
Let's just put it this way. But no, it could possibly be. I have no idea. I have my own personal feelings about the gentleman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there is that. But
okay.
Anyway, let's just say it this way. I told him to come work out. Now, mind you, he's a bodybuilder. I said, why don't you just have him come work out with you? I think the guy was scared.
Okay. Everybody should be scared of Christina. Christina.
So anyway, I don't know if that's going to continue, but he just decided, screw it, I'm going to start writing. And, knowing the Beast, he holds up into his place on his Eames chairs and listens to his turntable, usually the Stones or whatever, really loud, and, does his shit.
And by the way, pause for station identification. This gentleman looks like something out of a movie set himself. Always impeccably dressed, always has the seasonally appropriate equivalent of the velvet tailored blazer and pocket square and Scott yet boots to represent the spaghetti Western. There's probably a QR code on the bottom of those boots in case, somebody wants to record while he's horizontal. This dude, he is suavebola.com. He is,
absolutely
right?
And I will also say that probably besides my husband, one of the smartest men I know, and always interesting. It's always an interesting conversation.
And the other thing too is very witty, knows
very
where
witty.
All the bodies are buried. Talk about somebody who we want to have on this. Not
absolutely.
The bodies, and then the grandmother and the grandfather's bodies are buried.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this guy is entrenched, but also a character himself.
So I think he just decided to write a book and, said, screw it, because I don't know if this production's going to happen or whatever. And now he's doing new thing. And here's the thing that you and I both will agree on. I think that the one thing that I can't stand is complacency.
Yes.
Like, you and I are both the same. Like, it just drives me crazy. Complacency, whatever. I will say that the Beast is definitely not a complacent person. He's the type of person just goes for it and just decides, like, fuck it. I don't care. Right. This is what I'm going to do. And I wouldn't say that's not complacent. I would say he's motivated and always driven. And I admire that. And that's why I think we're bringing him up on the show. And I think that you and I could really relate to that, because
he's a maverick. And the other,
absolutely.
You know what he's like? He's like Ricky Ricardo, but an American version meets Sean Penn, the rebel. But he's got longer hair. So maybe he's like Paul McCartney.
Yeah,
American Paul McCartney meets Sean Penn, the rebel. So, by the way, if either of us got a text from him and he said he was off in Fallujah or somewhere, he would genuinely be off in Fallujah. I mean, no joke. He just does beats to his own drum.
And is also a fellow equestrian.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. He actually owns a horse. He's a Western rider.
Okay, so did he take that up in order to do the spaghetti westerns? Because I remember.
No, I think I knew that he needed to ride in his westerns, and then I think that he just decided there was an opportunity for him to buy an older horse, so he bought a 20-year-old. I don't know what. I think she might be a Mustang or something like that.
Oh, that's appropriate.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, and nicely enough, he's going to be moving her closer to home because she's way out in like an hour and a half away. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I can't. How could you own a horse and not be able to get there in 10 minutes?
Right,
like for me, I can't stand that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's also a fellow equestrian. Does his riding and his trail rides and whatnot.
Is he dating anybody? That's always what I want to know. Because this guy, that's the juice. Is he dating anyone? When I was between husbands, I would have tried, but
yeah. I mean, I would say off the record, yes.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
I think so.
Now, he also knows a good friend that actually I was just referring to on another taping of a podcast. You're familiar with the gentleman who, very, very, very good friend of his, who was yelling at cars that were speeding too quickly down the street. And this gentleman, we are calling him, now you're going to have to think about this and not be able to say it out loud, Christina. We are calling him James. Okay, so in your head, sort of say it together. That'll make sense in a second. And say the gentleman's real name and then say the word James together. And it's going to make
I don't even know who you're talking about.
Okay, so this is one of the Beast's very best friends, who's very eccentric. You and I know very well. He was outside of his house in Pasadena. People were driving too quickly. He yelled at them and he was pummeled. He was pummeled. And now wears a halo, from what I understand. I haven't spoken to him in a while. He wears a halo and is somewhat incapacitated, but I understand is still raising Cain. So that is one person we definitely want to have on is James. God. But the other one, we also have another mutual friend who's the private investigator, Nils. Now, Nils, we have known Nils since we were basically in high school. Nils is responsible for capturing, right, a Russian gentleman. Was it that had the hit out on somebody in Pasadena's wife?
No, not the Russian gentleman. Was he? So are we calling him a different name? Because I think we actually should. So we're going to call him Mark. That guy actually grew up in Pasadena, went to St. Francis.
He did? The one that Nils wrangled?
Yeah. My dad used to pick him up. He used to be walking on a street. My dad used to pick him up and give him a ride to school. I knew him since I was 15. He was younger.
So Mark had a hit out on somebody, a very famous.
Let's go back up. So he was actually arrested after his third strike. Mark. Okay. He was in jail, and in jail, he was with another guy that was going to be on parole. So Mark decides to write a huge manifesto on everybody he wants to have off.
Literally, right? Hand writes it in jail, old school.
Some of our good friends are on that list. Now, mind you, it has nothing to do with anything other than his own dirty deeds, because he was very deep into loan fraud, other shit. So then this list came out. Now, dipshit. You don't give a list to a guy who's going to be on parole in the next 2 days, because obviously the guy's going to go, well, I don't want to get in trouble again. I don't want to be back here. He turned it over to the guy that was the head of the jail and said, this is what my roommate just gave me.
The manifesto. Yeah, he said, this is what my roommate gave me. And by the way, he's serious. And did he want the Russians or was it the Mexican mob to take him out?
I don't know that detail.
It was one of them.
Something that Nils would know. But that at that point in time, then he was put into jail for, I think, longer, and subsequently was let out 3 years ago.
And this gentleman was having an affair with a very prominent person's wife in Pasadena.
Yeah, I think that actually, I don't know if that, I'm not going to say for certain whether or not that was true. I know that they ended up being in a relationship thereafter.
Oh, I know it's true. It was
years.
Absolutely. Okay. Okay. I'll settle that score. Okay.
I didn't know.
Anyway, so he was having this affair that turned into a hot mess. He somehow convinced her. He was calling her. No, I kid you guys not. He put his phone number, or when he called her, it came up as the White House. Okay. She thought he was a CIA gentleman, etc. Anyway, net, he has a hit on her, a real hit.
Yeah.
She gets one of the very few licensed to carry situations in Southern California.
She sleeps with a gun underneath her pillow.
Yeah.
But here's what's scary. If you remember correctly, I don't know if you and I were friends at this point, and we may not have been. We would be at one of our very lovely watering holes that we love so much. Thank you, Royal Chop House. Yes. And he would literally just throw down $100 bill and say, drinks are on me for the night. All the time. Yeah. Of course, he'd be sitting there with, a scotch in his hand, dressed impeccably, mind you.
Always dressed impeccably. But he had kind of a squirreled up face, a little bit of a squirreled up face.
I think that most of that was probably from drinking.
Because it was like remember the jaw was a little offline? Yeah. And then he had the cigar. And he was a very large gentleman.
Yeah, sometimes
he would chew this.
But younger than us, mind you. I think it was
younger than us. Yeah. And then, by the way,
and was chauffeured everywhere.
Was chauffeured. And would you like to know why it was chauffeured in the Jag?
Because of DUI.
Because one of them, he crashed into one of my best friend's parents' car in the Chop House parking lot. It was like a hit and run. That was part of the DUI. He was banned from driving into the Chop House somehow. So that's why he had to have his chauffeur Jaguar, that's a whole other story. But the guy did after that. So it's the beauty queen now sleeps. She's really a beauty queen. Sleeps with the gun under the bed. Yeah. The guy puts the hit out with the Mexican or Russian mob. He is incarcerated. Nils nabs him. The cops can't find him. Nils, the private investigator, who's got to be next on the show, honest to God. Yeah. Nils nabs him, puts the guy away literally for good until now. We know he's released 3 years ago. And the first place he's probably going to be is looking for Marley Major talking trash.
Yeah, but here's the thing. He's not allowed to be in Pasadena at all. In fact, I know Nils has told me that he was spotted in South Pasadena one time and somewhere else, but every time he's in, I guess there was like a tracker or something. He's actually, I think, outside of Pomona, like somewhere out there. But who knows?
That's not far enough for those of you that's not far enough.
Trust me.
So the bottom line, Christina, because I know you have a hard stop and I've already blown through it, but obviously we need to revisit this. Yeah. I think it's very clear that we need to get the beast. We're not sure. You're going to have to smile and nod with that one.
I can do that.
Know that he would.
I could do that.
Okay, so you're going to smile and nod.
I can make it happen.
Tell him. Okay, I don't think there's anything of value that I can give him unless he does want publicity for the book. So talk to the Beast.
I will.
Love the Beast.
We love the Beast.
Big fan of the Beast. Obviously, we need Nils.
Yeah.
And then we need the Beast perhaps talking about everyone's... Okay, now, James, no joke, sister invented the internet. She's on the patent. Did you know that?
No.
100%.
Wait, how...
We can sidebar about it. Her name is on the patent, and I have seen it. The one that lives in Morro Bay. Yeah.
Wow. That's shocking.
We got a lot to cover.
We have a lot to cover. We'll revisit.
I appreciate your time. I'm sure we'll probably be doing this again tomorrow. I will look forward to seeing you tonight at the Notre Dame SC party.
Yeah, you know the game is tomorrow, right? Is this a pre-game thing?
It's a pre-game thing because this is a very long story, but I thought it was the quarterback of Notre Dame. It's not the quarterback. It's the linebacker. I don't know. Somebody, I think the gentleman's last name is Kaiser. Anyway, my oldest son who follows Notre Dame lost his ever-loving mind. The parents are farmers. I guess they were on a Netflix special somehow. Yeah. The parents are Irish farmers from Indiana. Some reason they are staying with my dad this weekend. No clue. So my dad says, let's have a party to honor them. They've got two other sets of players' parents who I guess are in town. So somehow now it turns into my dad doesn't know the parents, but everybody's having a party tonight at Smitty's. If my back brace and I have to set it up, then my back brace and I are going to invite all my friends.
Nice.
So open bar. Too bad this isn't live. Otherwise, we could have everybody at Smitty's. Smitty's Grill Pasadena. Thank you. And on that note, I am thanking Clippers Christina. Christina Pasadena, love you. Mean it. Thank you for saving my life. This is the conductress.
Pleasure.
Signing off on Every Day's a Train Wreck. You too, go and toot your horn. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.